I've thought a lot about Backrooms, and after much contemplation, I think I've come up with something. You know, you go back and forth on a movie like this, thinking about all the things it could mean, and I think right there, you know, you've got a winner of a movie. That's what makes this movie great, is it's abstract. There's so many things you could pull from it, so many things you can take from it and apply to your own life, I think. And so I went through all these changes. It took me about a week, a little bit less, fumbling around and thinking about all the things it could mean, because you know that I'm thinking more about it than they were who created this movie. And it's a fantastic movie, by the way. There are so many things I love about it, but let's just talk about what I think it could mean, because I think you could go a lot of different directions here, but I think, and this has probably been said before, but I think the Backrooms is just the inner workings of his mind. You know, we know that he's not melting through a wall and appearing in something else. He's just appearing there because he's there. He's living in that place, his little shop, his little repair shop or electronic shop, whatever it is. He's spending the night there. He's divorced or whatever happened. And that's where he is. And so his mind drifts into these places. And you'll notice that when you go into the Backrooms, when he discovers it, you see a lot of the things that are from his life. So the monster is wearing the captain's outfit, which is what he was wearing when he shot that commercial. You see, I've seen somebody say that the woman with the red hair that he scalped at one point, spoiler alert, by the way, that was his wife that he actually murdered, or maybe wanted to murder. But since the Backrooms are the inner workings of his mind and his memory and his deepest fears and thoughts, that all these things appear. Now, they're not appearing, you know, in a physical, tangible way. He in his mind is just there. So you might be thinking, well, how do other people visit this place then if it's not a real place? Well, I think they could be anywhere. He could be imagining he's in the basement, going through the wall, or coming up with an idea, or maybe it's a little more vague than that. And that's why his two assistant managers follow him. Maybe he kills them in real life, and that's why they're dead in the Backrooms. Maybe it's just something that he wants to do. And you'll notice that when they were filming the commercial, again, the boy was wearing an End Apartheid t-shirt, a white t-shirt. And when he is in the Backrooms, or he's in Clark's Backrooms in his mind, he's filming it. Before he gets killed, he sees the End Apartheid t-shirt in a pile. You know, I have those little piles of things. So I feel like the Backrooms are a place in your mind that you go to that other people can visit through you, or maybe they have their own way of getting there, their own little route to finding a place that's similar but in their own way. For example, at the end, when his therapist shows up, you know, he's got her tied up or whatever, but maybe she's just at the store. You know what I mean? Maybe they're just having this conversation in the basement. He's not actually going through the wall. He's just in the basement in the dark, leaning up against the wall, and they have this conversation. Maybe when the monster kills him, maybe he just kills himself in front of her. Who knows? But when she appears as one of those lifeless beings at the end of the movie, maybe that's just us seeing her start her own Backrooms. That's the beginning of her Backrooms. And now she's going to be in a place that looks like this, that's going to have all the memories that she has in her life, or all the things she's experienced, and maybe pushes down into a deep, dark place. But I can hear you thinking already, or wanting to say, well, how do you explain Mark Duplass's character at the end, who's the scientist, who says, how did you find this place? Well, maybe that's another thing that gets imagined before you go into this place. Maybe there's some sort of a story that you tell yourself about it being a place that's being observed, or it's like this weird alternate dimension. Maybe that's how alternate dimensions actually work. Maybe portals actually work that way. You go through your mind. I mean, didn't Terence McKenna say that alien visitation can also be just us thinking about an alien? You think about an alien, you think about UFOs, and that's contact. Or it could be contact. It could, because we don't know, right? It could be in a blade of grass and we step on it and we don't, you know, maybe our life turns around because we stepped on that particular blade of grass. I'm reaching here, but I'm just saying that the scientist at the end could be the beginning of a Backrooms or an imagined entry point into the Backrooms, which is what happens to the therapist. And maybe Clark went through the same thing. Maybe that's why they're there. I would say the only thing I don't really know, and obviously I'm just throwing out ideas here, is the beginning when you hear someone on the radio. Now, I couldn't tell if that was Clark or not, but maybe, again, that's his entry point. Maybe people have their own entry points. They think it's something unique. It gets them into that space. Now, I'm not saying, of course, like it's a dream. That seems like a cheesy way to go about it. And maybe Inner Workings of Your Mind is also cheesy. And it doesn't really matter because it's an amazing movie and I'm going to watch it multiple times. It can be rewatched over and over again. It's so fantastic. And you know, the interesting thing about it to me, one of the most fascinating things, is that you've got a guy who's going through the Backrooms, and whether he's actually experiencing it or he's experiencing it in his mind, the actual film that you're watching, sitting in a theater, is shaky camera, you know, following, looking around, and it never gets old. Isn't that amazing? I think most people probably feel that way. But I thought to just constantly be looking around corners and looking through the rooms and shaky camera moving from room to room and you don't know what's going to happen, that's a big chunk of the movie, and it's interesting for some reason. I think that's really fascinating. I mean, what a story, what a movie. I thought it was great. I really want to know what you think. What's your theory? Because if you go on different forums online and you try to find out what the Backrooms is about, there's some really interesting, wild theories out there about different things, and things that people notice is pretty crazy. I try to pay attention. Sometimes I'm good at catching at these things, and sometimes I'm not. But there's something for almost every theory you can think of. This one, I didn't see anybody else saying much about it. I'm sure it probably exists. But to me, I think that's the only way you get into these spaces, is to get into your mind and maybe your little universe for him, for Clark, is this store that he has. He's living in it because he's paying whatever, and his divorce is finalized, and he's going through something, and he's in the basement one night, and he starts to experience these things where his mind takes off. Maybe he's on edibles. Maybe he's taking ketamine. Maybe he's doing all kinds of things, mushrooms, whatever. And however that happens, that's when he starts to go into his mind and he starts to experience these things. Just the different ways that you can go into these little hidden corners of the universe that's inside our brains, right? And it's just sort of a metaphor for that. That's what I think it is, but I would love to know what you think. And I need to see it again, because that will probably shape how I actually see it. Maybe I'll notice more things. But I'll tell you this, just watching the movie, I just enjoy it. I don't really have to think that much. I like the idea of pondering different possibilities and different things being said to me as I'm watching such a really good movie. And the acting is incredible. I heard some people talk about the script and how it was bailed out a little bit by the great acting. I don't know. I'd have to watch it again to see it. But right now, Backrooms, fantastic movie. Let me know what you think. Don't forget also to subscribe to the movie Raffle Club, which is where if you join my Patreon, I put your name in a bowl. And at the end of the month, I pull out one name, and then I send surprise DVDs. Can't ask for much more than that. I mean, you could, but isn't it fun to get mail? Join up and let me know what you think below. Backrooms,